There's a kind of discipline that never breaks. Not when you're exhausted. Not when everything goes wrong. Not when you want to give up. And today you'll discover the ancient system that creates unbreakable warriors. Have you ever wondered how shinobi managed to survive alone for months in the mountains? How they trained in secret for years without anyone knowing? How they maintained absolute discipline without apps, reminders, or motivational coaching? The answer has nothing to do with willpower. It has to do with something they called Ninpo, the way of the invisible warrior. And when you understand the 5 pillars of this system, you realize that the discipline you've tried to build up until now was built on sand. The shinobi understood something about human nature centuries before neuroscience confirmed it. The human brain is not built for discipline. It is built for survival. It avoids discomfort. It conserves energy. It seeks immediate relief. That's why most systems fail. They fight biology. But the shinobi built systems that worked with it. There was only one problem. This path does not accept curiosity. It does not reward half-effort. It does not tolerate negotiation. It demands the sacrifice of the version of you that breaks promises to yourself. Before I show you how their system worked in practice, take a moment to support the channel. Subscribe, like the video, and activate notifications so you don't miss future lessons. Now let's begin. Chapter 1. The Boy Who Always Quit Feudal Japan. Mountain Province. Mid-1500s. There was a 14-year-old boy known in his village for one thing: quitting. His name was Teacher. But no one called him that. They called him Teacher the Almost, because he almost trained, almost committed, almost changed. He dreamed of becoming a shinobi. At night he would stare at the mountains, imagining shadows moving across rooftops. But imagination was where his courage ended. Every morning he made the same promise: today is different. He would attempt a few push-ups. Stop. Sit to meditate. 2 minutes later, distracted. Swing a wooden sword. 5 strikes. Arms tired. Done. Monday, this is my turning point. Monday afternoon, tomorrow will be better. Tuesday, he forgot he ever decided anything. His father was a blacksmith. A practical man. Hands hardened by iron. Shinobi are stories, his father would say. You will learn the forge. What Teacher didn't know was this: his father knew the shinobi existed. He even knew where their hidden school stood in the mountains. But he never told his son. Not because he doubted the shinobi. He doubted his son. And deep down, Teacher doubted himself too. Until the day something shifted. He was returning from the forest after what he called training, which was mostly striking branches and imagining skill. A man stood in the middle of the path. Plain clothes. Ordinary posture. Except for his eyes. They didn't look at Teacher. They looked through him. You want to be a shinobi? It wasn't a question. Teacher froze. You wasted today again. The man stepped closer. How many times have you told yourself this is the day you change? Teacher said nothing. Because he knew. Too many. The man turned toward the mountain path. Follow me. If you reach the summit without stopping, I will show you the school. If you fail, go home and accept your life. The mountain climb would take 3 hours. Teacher had never sustained effort for even one. But something in him was tired. Not physically. Tired of being weak. I'm coming. The first half hour was manageable. At 40 minutes, his legs burned. At 1 hour, his mind began its rebellion. You're not built for this. This is stupid. You can try again tomorrow. The man never slowed. Never looked back. 2 hours in, Teacher was on hands and knees. Crying. Shaking. And in that moment, something broke. Not his body. His negotiation. The pain didn't matter. The fatigue didn't matter. What mattered was the decision he made at the bottom. He said he would climb. And warriors keep their word. He stood. 3 hours and 15 minutes later, he reached the summit. Collapsed. Vomited. Blacked out. When he woke, he was inside a wooden hall lit by dim lanterns. The mountain man sat before him. You completed your first lesson, he said calmly. Welcome to the Koga school. Chapter 2. The Death of the Weak Self. The bell rang before dawn. Not gently. Violently. It echoed through bone. Teacher jolted awake. 15 other students were already standing. Silent. Still. Identical black garments. The master stood at the center. In this school, he said, there are no attempts. Only 2 states. You are. Or you are not. The bell rings. You rise. No questions. Teacher glanced at the sky, still dark. But sensei, what time? The master's gaze cut him off. Time is irrelevant. The bell decides. The first week shattered him. An hour of silent meditation. 2 hours of physical conditioning. Study of strategy. Stealth drills until dusk. Minimal sleep. Repeat. Teacher wanted to quit daily. But here was the difference. He couldn't. Because before training began, each student stood before the entire school and declared, "My word is my life. If I break it, I am nothing." The declaration was recorded, witnessed, remembered. Something changed in that moment. His identity shifted. And this is where the shinobi understood human psychology better than modern science once did. When you declare an identity publicly, your brain registers failure not as inconvenience, but as social death. For early humans, losing the tribe meant extinction. The shinobi weaponized this instinct. Teacher no longer promised to try. He became someone. And once identity shifts, behavior follows. The weak version of him began to die. Not dramatically, not instantly, but daily. Through structure, through repetition, through the removal of negotiation. Because discipline is not about forcing yourself. It is about eliminating the option to quit. They were cast out. And in ancient times, exile meant death. Your brain still carries that wiring. When you make a declaration, especially publicly, and break it, a primitive part of your mind doesn't interpret it as a mistake. It interprets it as loss of tribe, loss of status, loss of safety. The shinobi did not understand neuroscience, but they understood consequence. Their rule was simple: an oath is life. Break it and you break yourself. The third morning on the third day, Teacher woke up in agony. Every muscle throbbed. His back felt splintered. His legs refused to move. Immediately the voice began, "You're injured. You need recovery. One day doesn't matter." He turned his head. Every other student was already standing. Silent. Alert. No complaints. No hesitation. No delay. And suddenly he understood something powerful. If he stayed lying down, it wouldn't be private. It would be witnessed. The pain in his body was sharp. But the pain of breaking his oath in front of everyone? That would be permanent. He stood. Not because he felt strong. Because he refused to feel small. The cost of doubt. On the fifth night, during a quiet meal, one student whispered, "This pace will destroy us." The master heard. He rose slowly. "You are dismissed," he said calmly. The boy froze. "I didn't disobey." "You introduced doubt." Silence filled the hall. In this school, thought precedes action. Doubt is action. You acted against your oath. The student left before sunrise. No one ever complained again. Not because they weren't tired, but because they understood. The oath was not symbolic. It was structural. But even with public commitment, even with social pressure, Teacher was still fighting himself every morning. The real war wasn't external. It was internal negotiation. That's when the master introduced the second pillar. Chapter 3. The rhythm that ends negotiation. Every morning you fight invisible arguments. Should I wake up now or later? Should I train before breakfast? Maybe I'll do it tonight. Tomorrow would be better. You call it flexibility. It's not. It's erosion. Micro-decisions drain willpower before your day even begins. After 2 weeks, the master called Teacher aside. "You are still weak." Teacher was stunned. "I have not missed a single day." "Yes," the master replied. "But you are still deciding." As long as decision exists, weakness exists. The lesson was brutal in its simplicity. Remove the variable. Wake at the same time. Train at the same time. Sleep at the same time. No negotiation. The body is primitive, the master said, but it worships patterns. If you wake at random hours, it resists you daily. If you wake at the same hour, it prepares before you do. Teacher doubted this. Until it happened. On the 19th day, he woke moments before the bell. On the 25th, 2 minutes earlier. On the 30th, he was fully awake before any sound. Not motivated. Conditioned. The rhythm had replaced resistance. But then his mind found a new battlefield. If he couldn't argue about when to train, he would argue about how. Maybe today I focus on speed. Maybe strength. Maybe climbing. Maybe something new. The negotiation returned, disguised as creativity. The master saw it immediately. You are introducing chaos. In this school we practice form. For 100 days, the master declared, you will repeat the exact same sequence. No variation. No adjustment. No creativity. Teacher frowned. But won't I stagnate? Won't I become bored? Boredom, the master said, is ego withdrawing from stimulation. You evolve when repetition becomes so automatic that awareness deepens. Chapter 4. The form that liberates. No one tells you the truth about variety. You think variety keeps you engaged. But variety keeps you negotiating. Every change reintroduces decision. Every decision reopens weakness. Teacher began his 100-day sequence: 50 push-ups, 100 squats, 30 minutes of sword form, 20 minutes of breath discipline. Same order, same location, same time. Every day. Week 1, his mind rebelled. This is mechanical. You're losing individuality. You need change. Week 2, other students teased him. You're becoming a machine. Where's your creativity? The master smiled. Creativity without structure is noise. Master the form first. Expression comes later. Week 3, psychological war. The voice intensified. Just change one thing. Just today. No one will notice. But teacher remembered the expelled student. He remembered the oath. He continued. Week 4, something shifted. Not physically, mentally. The resistance shortened. The arguments weakened. Not because he won them. Because the brain realized it had no leverage. Negotiation requires options. There were none. Week 6, midway through push-ups, he noticed something unusual. He wasn't thinking. His body moved effortlessly through the sequence. It wasn't boredom. It was release. He had escaped decision fatigue. Week 8, during sword practice, he detected a subtle flaw in his wrist rotation. A microscopic inefficiency. Something he would have never seen while debating technique choices. Repetition had created clarity. Form had created awareness. And awareness created precision. This was the hidden system. Public oath removes social escape. Fixed rhythm removes temporal negotiation. Unchanging form removes strategic negotiation. What remains? Execution. And when execution becomes automatic, identity shifts permanently. Mushin means no mind, the master explained. But not empty in the sense of nothingness. Empty in the sense of no interference. No hesitation. No internal debate. No what if. When the swordsman thinks, should I strike? He is already late. When he wonders, what if I fail? He has already failed. Mushin is not the absence of awareness. It is awareness without friction. Teacher frowned. So I stop thinking? No, the master said. You stop arguing with reality. For 100 days, Teacher had eliminated negotiation. He removed variation. He removed gaps. He removed excuses before they appeared. What remained was action without commentary. That is Mushin. The master picked up a wooden sword and tossed it toward him without warning. Teacher caught it. No flinch. No delay. Before, the master said, you would have thought, why did he throw it? What does this mean? Should I step back? Now you simply respond. This is the mind that doesn't hesitate. Teacher began to understand. The 100 days were never about push-ups. They were never about the sword sequence. They were about stripping away the layers that interfered with direct action. Most people live in permanent negotiation. I'll start tomorrow. I'll do it when I feel ready. I'll commit, but only if it's convenient. They believe they lack discipline. But discipline isn't added. It's revealed. Underneath the hesitation. Underneath the craving for comfort. Underneath the addiction to novelty. When you remove the noise, what's left is frighteningly simple: act. The master continued, Mushin is not emotionless. It is not robotic. It is the state where your training and your identity are indistinguishable. You do not force yourself to practice. Practice flows through you. Teacher realized something else. At the beginning he needed social pressure. The oath. The fear of shame. Then he needed structure. Fixed time. Fixed form. Then he needed continuity. No gaps. Then he needed preparation for chaos. But at the end he needed none of it. Because the structure had done its job. It carved a channel. Now the river flowed on its own. This is where most people stop too early. They want the freedom without the form. The creativity without the repetition. The identity without the proof. They taste boredom and retreat. They encounter illness and pause. They face inconvenience and reset to zero. Then they say, I guess I'm just not that type of person. But identity is built in the invisible days. Day 17 when nothing changes. Day 43 when motivation is gone. Day 68 when it rains. Day 80 when life interrupts. Those are the days that sculpt you. On the 101st morning there was no bell. Tishi's eyes opened before dawn. He stood up. He trained. No one told him to. No program demanded it. Number 100 day challenge remained. The practice continued because he had crossed the threshold from effort to embodiment. That is the difference between someone who tries to be disciplined and someone who has removed the part of themselves that quits. Mushin is not mystical. It is mechanical. You repeat until the behavior no longer belongs to your willpower. You maintain continuity until stopping feels unnatural. You prepare so thoroughly that obstacles feel rehearsed. And one day you wake up and realize, you are not forcing yourself anymore. You simply are. So now the question returns to you. Not, can you do 100 days? Not, are you strong enough? But, what decision are you still negotiating every morning? Where are you allowing variation to become escape? What gap are you about to justify? If you want the mind that doesn't hesitate, you don't need more motivation. You need fewer negotiations. Choose the time. Choose the form. Remove the gaps. Predecide your obstacles. Then repeat until there is no version of you left that debates. And when someone asks, how are you so consistent? You won't say, I have discipline. You'll say nothing. Because by then, you won't practice. You will be practice. Mushin does not mean recklessness. It does not mean blindness. It does not mean becoming a machine that moves without awareness. It means something far more refined. It means no ego, no hesitation, no inner friction between what you know must be done and what you feel like doing. When a samurai faces a blade, there is no time for internal debate. If the mind says, should I block? Should I step back? What if I'm too slow? That pause is fatal. Action must arise before thought finishes forming. Not because the warrior is mindless, but because the training has removed the interference. That is what those 100 days built in T-shirt. Not just strength, not just endurance, not just habit. They dismantled the version of him that negotiated. Before, every action required discussion. Should I train now? Maybe later. Maybe tomorrow. Maybe I deserve rest. After 100 days of fixed rhythm, fixed form, no gaps and pre-decided responses, something subtle happened. The voice didn't get louder. It didn't get quieter. It simply became irrelevant. Training happened the way breathing happens. The master's final lesson was not about pushing harder. It was about identity. Your form is over, he said. The structure is removed. Now we see who you are. This is where most people collapse. Structure carries them, but once it disappears, so does their consistency. They were never disciplined. They were temporarily supported. T-shirt did not hesitate. I will continue. Why? The master asked. Because I am no longer someone who trains. I am someone who is. That is the turning point. There is a profound psychological shift when behavior stops being something you force and becomes something you embody. At first, discipline feels heavy. You are dragging yourself forward. Every repetition feels like resistance against comfort. Then something changes. Repetition becomes neutral. Then natural. Then inevitable. 3 months later, T-shirt was no longer a student. Not because someone handed him a title, but because the internal structure that defined him had changed. He did not talk about discipline. He did not boast about streaks. He did not measure himself publicly. He simply acted. When new students asked, how do you never fail? He did not claim superior willpower. He said something much simpler. Failure is no longer an option in my mind. Not because I am strong. Because I removed it. That line confused them. How do you remove failure as an option? You remove the version of yourself that allows it. You sacrifice the identity that negotiates. You eliminate the comfort of maybe. You delete the fantasy of later. And when that identity dissolves, what remains is a person who keeps their word because breaking it no longer fits who they are. But transformation has a social cost. As T-shirt grew stronger, reactions shifted. Some admired him. Some respected him. Many felt uneasy. He's extreme. That's not healthy. No one needs to live like that. What unsettled them was not his discipline. It was his certainty. Certainty exposes excuses. When someone operates without hesitation, it highlights how much of ordinary life is built on compromise with comfort. But here is an important distinction. True discipline is not rigidity. It is stability. T-shirt adapted when sick. He reduced volume but never stopped. He trained in the rain. He trained while traveling. He helped his family all day and woke before dawn to preserve continuity. He did not worship perfection. He protected momentum. That difference is everything. Perfection demands ideal conditions. Momentum survives imperfect ones. 6 months after his transformation, T-shirt was sent on his first real mission. 7 days with minimal sleep. Limited food. Constant threat. Chaos instead of routine. Yet something remarkable happened. Not once did he think, I can't. That voice had already been trained out of relevance. In its place was a simple directive: do what is required. This is what people misunderstand about discipline that intimidates others. It is not loud. It is not dramatic. It is not obsessive in appearance. It is calm. A calm that comes from the absence of internal debate. The system that shaped him was simple but not easy. First, identity declared publicly. Not "I will try," but "I am." Second, fixed rhythm. Time removed from negotiation. Third, fixed form. Repetition without variation until automation occurs. Fourth, no gaps. Reduced effort allowed, zero forbidden. Fifth, predecision. Every foreseeable obstacle answered before it appears. None of these are mystical. They are structural. Most people believe they lack motivation. In reality, they suffer from too many decisions. Every day they renegotiate the same commitments. Every morning becomes a courtroom where comfort argues against growth. T-shirt closed the court. No debate. No appeals. No postponement. And over time, something almost frightening emerges. You stop needing motivation because there is nothing left to convince. You do not wake up and decide to train. You wake up and train. You do not weigh options. You execute patterns. And here is the part that matters most. This path is not about becoming inhuman. It is about becoming integrated. Ego fragments you. Discipline aligns you. When action and intention are unified, energy stops leaking. People will say you are intense. They will say you should relax. They will say balance is healthier. Balance without commitment is just disguised inconsistency. Real balance is the ability to adapt without breaking continuity. If you truly want this transformation, do not attempt everything at once. Choose one habit. 1. Make it public enough that it matters. Fix the time. Fix the form. Remove zero as an option. Pre-decide your obstacles. Commit to 100 days. Then stop talking about it. Let repetition do what motivation never could. Because in the end, the goal is not to build discipline. The goal is to eliminate the part of you that resists what you already know you should do. When that part fades, something powerful remains. Clarity. Action. Consistency without drama. And when someone asks how you do it, you won't need a speech. You'll simply smile. Because you won't be someone trying anymore. You will be someone who is.